From the Podcast Detroit studios and Zoom everywhere else, The Making of Champions. Professional boxers inspiring amateur athletes to become champions. Presented by Joe Louis, champion of them all bourbon, in association with USA Boxing, Golden Gloves of America, and BigFightWeekend.com. Join your hosts, Tanya Cole and Marquise Johns, with special guests from around the world of amateur and pro boxing, celebrating the legacy of Joe Louis, whose status as the first African-American national hero showed the importance of being a leader and a role model inside and outside of the ring.
Thank you for joining us tonight on The Making of Champions. With me always, I've got Marquise Johns from Big Fight Weekend. Marquise, how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good, Tanya. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well. I know we've got an exciting story. Can you introduce our guest for tonight and get us started?
Absolutely. Mashy's a man that honestly needs no introduction, Tanya, but I'm going to try my best here.
I know.
We are talking to the sole proprietor of Soul City Boxing out of Toledo, Ohio, the lead trainer for several future world champions, most notably everyone have seen on television, Charles Conwell at the junior middleweight position, climbing up the ranks. Also as well, who's going to be in action, I'm sure, later on this year, Roshawn Jones III, and as well as Olympian O'Shea Jones. We're talking with the proprietor of Roshawn Jones at RoshawnJones.com. Roshawn, how's it going, man? How you doing?
How you doing? Thanks for the intro. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. In fact, let me start there first, man. Last month in action for December, we had to close out Ring City for NBC Sports last year. Charles Conwell in absolute one-way traffic, man. Just walk me through that whole process and the whole Ring City getting up to that whole fight.
First of all, Ring City is a great network to fight on. They had a great live stream promotion app. As far as, can y'all hear that dog barking in the back?
Yeah, he's good.
I can't hide.
Yeah, Ring City.
Okay.
Ring City, they did a great video promotion, promoting Charles, helping the whole Soul City gym. And they put him up against undefeated fighter for the second time in a row. He fought on Showtime, then he undefeated fighter, then he fought again on NBC Sports, undefeated fighter from Kazakhstan. He stopped him in the 9th round. And, you know, it was a great experience for Charles Conwell. We're trying to climb up the ranks and get those big payday fights.
Absolutely. And speaking of Conwell, I just want to pick back on that as well. I know he's moving up the ranks. I want to say the main one I wanted to, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the WBA. Have they gave you guys anything in terms of who's he facing next, or any sort of title eliminator or any top 15 guy by chance, or anything along those lines yet?
They mentioned a few names, but they told us not to say nothing yet, just because they don't want to scare anybody away, because Charles is a very deadly fighter, and people are very scared to fight him.
Absolutely, and that was a point I want to ask you as well, because the point that Conwell mentioned on when we had him on earlier late last year was his preparation and how everyone is scared to fight him. What is it about the training that you guys do that has these guys running scared before competition now coming out of Soul City Boxing?
Well, for one, we're in great tip-top shape. We never missed a weight. We're coming at the weigh-ins chiseled and ripped up. And unfortunately, Charles Conwell had a fight with Patrick Day back in October. And Patrick Day didn't make it out of the hospital. He didn't wake up after the knockout. And, you know, some people, boxers see that, you know what I mean, and see that Charles has deadly puncher power, and they are scared to fight him. You know what I mean? I'm scared to hit the mitts with him because he might accidentally hit me in my chin. So let alone stepping in the ring with him.
Absolutely. And speaking of fellow stablemates out of your gym, Roshawn, one guy I wanted to mention to you was Roshawn Jones III. I mentioned earlier to you. I saw that you've been playing basketball with him on some of your training videos on Facebook. What I wanted to ask you about was two things. One, he trained, I want to say it was in 2019, and he fought on back-to-back weeks, which hasn't been done, as you well know, in the history of boxing since black and white footage. Just walk me through that, and what do you see, how has he improved since he got back into the gym?
Back in 2019, he fought in London, knocked the guy out in the first or second round, if I'm not mistaken. And Eddie Hearn was so impressed with him that he didn't really get tired or broke a sweat that much. He put him in the ring the following week. And we fought a guy from Argentina and went all the rounds, unanimous decision. It kind of had a little on him with him flying like that and then having to get reacclimated into the American time frame. So we wanted to get the knockout, but the guy just survived the whole round. You get guys like that just come to survive. They don't really come to win. So it's kind of hard to knock them out. They don't open up as much.
Yeah.
Then we had another fight, a 6-round fight. They changed it to 4 rounds. Right, we were walking out to the ring, kind of messed up our game plan a little bit against Eric Martinez, and another unanimous decision, 4-rounder, majority decision.
Mm-hmm.
And after that fight, we got a call in Florida for the Super Bowl weekend last year, and he got a 2nd-round knockout. Then after that, they're like, you know what, we're going to step up Otha Jones III and step him up in the competition. You know, so we fought in Mexico City. We had a guy down that we were going to fight. Then at the weigh-ins, they switched it to an undefeated fighter promoted by the same company throwing the fight with the zone and Matchroom.
Yeah.
Or it was kind of like Otha Jones was the only person on the card fighting someone that was undefeated. And we fought the guy in his hometown, in his backyard, and came out with a draw.
Yeah.
So now what we're doing now is getting in the gym, grinding, learning as much as we can, fixing all the small mistakes that we can fix on, and looking to prove everyone wrong and doubt the doubters. Stop the doubting of the doubters.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, because so walk me through just the process, because I do find a fascination with Otha Jones as just a prospect coming up. What improvements have you seen in the gym personally on your end? Have you seen from his first fight coming up to his last one that he had to draw back in Mexico?
Well, we sent him to Buddy McGirr's gym in Los Angeles, California for about 3-4 weeks. And Buddy McGirr worked on him with his distance and his jab, you know, bending his knees a little bit, you know, getting a little more pop in his jabs. And once you master the jab, no one is going to be able to beat you. They're not going to be able to get past the jab. And and dealing with young fighters, they feel like they got to prove something every time they step in the ring. So they want to rush things instead of just breaking them down, using the jab. And that's what I seen him, you know, develop better.
Absolutely. Also wanted I just mentioned as well, Roshawn, with you. When we had Conwell on, he had the great quote, because we had a thing with boxers and having duos and combinations together. Your gym has been, he says, it's compared to the Incredibles. He didn't tell us the secrets on it, man. But which one's the baby out of the group in the Soul City Boxing gym, man?
I will kind of say
You've been dying
Otha Jones or
to ask that question.
O'Shea Jones, you know, she's the youngest, or she's not the youngest, she's amateur still, but she still has a lot of pro ranks. So I would say she's the baby until she turns pro.
Okay. And actually, speaking of O'Shea, because she's the Olympian, have you heard any update on that? Because last I heard that we're recording this is that they still have in flux. I know they canceled the finals for Tokyo. Is that still a thing going on with them for boxing in the Olympics, or you have any clue whatsoever yet?
Oh yeah, the Tokyo Olympics is still going on in 2021 in August. Okay. They're going to have real high restrictions on what they're doing and how they're going to do it. Team USA is getting ready to compete for a warm-up tournament before the qualifying team takes off in South America.
I gotcha. And speaking of your women boxers there, you had a camp like either last week or the week before. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we had a amateur camp for females. They came from Texas, New Mexico, Los Angeles, and they came over for a week. And we, you know, they try to learn a little bit of the Soul City style, you know, some of the things that we use to get 3 people on the Olympic team: O'Shea Jones, Charles Conwell, and Otha Jones III, which he made the youth Olympic team in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So people from all over the world come to get a little bit of, you know, a dose of what Soul City does. And it was a great camp. You know, it was a little arguing, it was a little bickering, you know what I mean? But that's what makes everybody great. And, you know, we love helping people at Soul City Boxing. We're not a selfish team at all. Things we learn, we try to give it to other people in the community, no matter your race, no matter your gender. And that's what we want to do. We want to just help people and make the world a better place.
Do his kids a favor. Turn yourself in, because we all out here now, and we know that Brian didn't deserve what was done.
Brian Smith was 30 years old. He leaves behind 4 kids, a large family, friends, and a boxing gym full of children he helped inspire.
We're going to be back with the Making of Champions with our guest tonight, Roshawn Jones of Soul City Boxing, in just a minute.
B. Joe Lewis, 3 simple words to empower the legacy of Joe Louis to inspire a new generation of champions. What does it take to become champions, leaders, future heroes? Joe Louis was the hero America needed then.
He fought for a nation.
Schmeling was the Goliath. Louis was the David.
Probably the only time in history of America that a black man ended up being a white hope.
This fight was the biggest fight in the history of the world.
In the middle of the 20th century, with their country in crisis, Americans found that hero among their own.
We're going to do our part and we will win because we are on God's side.
His stage was so big that downtrodden Americans, regardless of their age or race, felt a glimmer of hope creep into their lives just by watching him. In the end, he was a common man who reached the top and brought an entire country with him.
From the Podcast Detroit studios and Zoom everywhere else, The Making of Champions. Professional boxers inspiring amateur athletes to become champions. Presented by Joe Louis, champion of them all bourbon and bigger than life entertainment. In association with USA Boxing, Golden Gloves of America, the producers of MAC Boxing, Making a Champion series, and BigFightWeekend.com. Join your hosts, Tanya Cole and Marquise Johns, with special guests from around the world of amateur and pro boxing, celebrating the legacy of Joe Louis.
Well, let's say hello to senior writer, BigFightWeekend.com, Marquise John.
We're back on The Making of Champions. And speaking of quotes from Charles Conwell's articles, it was actually a quote from you, Roshawn, and it said, "The world can be a cold and cruel place, and people sometimes succumb to temptation and get trampled in the concrete jungle. Boxing is, believe it or not, mostly a safe haven for kids who would otherwise not fare well running out there in the streets." Tell us a little bit about Soul City Boxing.
Okay, Soul City Boxing is a anti-gang gym, inner city community center that helps people from all walks of life. We feed the kids and young adults. It's not just for kids, it's for human beings. We feed people, we help them with tutoring, we help them graduate high school, college, and if they don't want to go the college route, we help them get into trade school. And the homeless. Where? Yeah, I knew you looked at that. And the homeless. Where? 801 Junction, Toledo, Ohio, 43607. See you there. Yeah, I knew you looked at that. So the sky's the limit with helping these people here. You know, it's kind of like the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers was going back in the day. Yeah. You know, it's the same thing, same concept. You know what I mean? Which is less violence. You know. So shout out to everybody who helped people back in the day. Shout out to Martin Luther King. His birthday just passed. Yeah. Or Martin Luther King Day just passed. So, you know, we just try to keep positive things going on. And back to the quote that you were talking about, you know, people do die in the ring. This is a gladiator sport, and people come to see those type of things. Just like the NASCAR racing. People go to NASCAR racing to see people crash. You know what I mean? Get a kick out of it. You know, but boxing saves more lives than it takes, because when kids come into the community center and come into the gym, they're not out on the streets gang banging or getting into fights or robbing or stealing, you know, things like that. We also fight childhood obesity, helping kids stay active to lose weight and get those poisons out of their body, you know, from all the corner stores that they're putting into our community with sugar and, you know, pop and things like that, which is destroying our community just as well as destroying us with the drugs and crack cocaine that's going on around here and the prostitution. We are facing real problems in our community, and we are the people that are actually putting our money where our mouth is and helping these people out. So that's kind of what Soul City Boxing Gym is all about.
Located.
We're located in Toledo, Ohio. 43607 is our area code. And the history of the building, at first it started off as a beauty and barber shop. Upstairs was a boxing gym. So the beauty and barber shop kind of was a revenue that made, that kept the lights on upstairs in the gym. Yeah. Once the economy hit with the recession, people kind of wasn't really investing into haircuts and getting their hair done. So the business kind of went down. So once we shut the beauty and barbershop down, we made it a full community center, nonprofit organization, to where people can donate and help keep the gym going and stuff like that. But that part where the gym is at is, a safe haven for kids, gang members. A gang member can be in a beef with somebody, run to the gym because his life is on the line, and the people will not mess with him because he's at a Soul City Boxing Gym where they know it's a safe haven. You know what I mean? And we try to, squash those beefs in the neighborhood and get these people, to pick up the gloves and put the guns down.
Hey, sweet. Going to a giant. Hold on. Hey, this shit hot as fuck, bro. Damn.
Hey, don't delete this. Oh my God, bro.
Save it. If you delete it,
I told you that.
That nigga's my stomach. This shit light. Get on my line, man. This shit light.
Yeah, 100. Yeah. Look at Rose.
Man, eat this, man. It's like put your shit down, man.
Absolutely. That's one of the things, actually, I want to follow up with you on that, Roshawn, because one thing we had Malik Hawkins on last week, not Malik Hawkins, Malik Warren on last week, and we asked him flat out, hey, if he wasn't boxing, what he would do, and he flat out told us he didn't know, so he chose boxing. Can you explain this to everybody listening to this, the importance of how boxing gets a lot of these kids who don't have any future or direction off the streets into something that is actually pretty progressive, not only pretty helpful for them in the long run, but actually just something in terms of a skill they can use later on in life, no matter how old they get?
Yes. Mental health is real. You know what I mean? And the state of people's mental health is real. So when people have these mental problems going on or these self-esteem problems going on, a boxing gym gives them confidence and helps them release their energy and their frustration. And by the time they're done punching the bag and jumping roping and sweating, all their frustration is gone. They're relaxed. They're ready to go home and go to sleep and start a new day. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like it's a method to the madness in the boxing gym. Yeah, it's brutal and, you get punched, but you're also releasing stress levels, your stress that lowers your levels. You know what I mean? So kids and adults, this is a safe place for them to let off energy and turn it into positive energy.
And speaking of that, referring back to the Charles Conwell fight back in 2019 against Patrick Day, what did you have to do as one of his coaches to walk him through that process post-fight?
It was very tough for everyone in the gym, everyone in the city of Toledo, Ohio. It was tough. It was big news. And it was hard for him as well because he kind of didn't want to box at one point in time. Then at me as a trainer, I had went through some things in my head, like, do I really want to be labeled as a guy who trained someone and killed someone? You know what I mean? So I kind of questioned myself, like, is this really what I want to do? Is this something, because I had to read about his coach, Patrick Day's coach, read about his mom, read about his family. You know what I mean? It was a very sad situation.
Back to a year to actually this month. Tell me a little bit about your fight with Patrick Day.
What about it?
Well, you were there. I think you can tell us. I can preface it a little bit. Patrick Day went down in round 10 and he passed away 4 days later. Tell us a little bit about that fight.
I mean, it's really not much to tell. It's a boxing match, and it was a boxing match. I really can't really say much more about it. If you've seen the fight, you know how the match went, but I really can't say much about it. It was a boxing match. I can't. Really say much about it.
Yeah, I understand. And actually, just to piggyback off that, because the one thing in a fight on television, like, obviously, Charles, you would have known what would have happened. Did you anticipate any of that happening whatsoever?
No, I didn't expect any of it to happen. I don't think nobody going there expecting something like that to happen. fight. So yeah, I didn't do it.
Well, I know in fact you said no one deserves this to happen to them. And I replay the fight over and over in my head thinking, what if this never happened? And why did it happen to you? It was often said that you could not sleep and you wrote a letter about this particular fight. What did you say in this letter?
I just said how I felt. I mean, I just said how I felt. I didn't express myself. I knew I couldn't talk to him personally, so I had to, speak into the world and just let my emotions go, so I can just feel my. I just feel like I needed to say something to him, like personally, but I can't get into it.
And on the flip side, if it was Charles, you know what I mean, it would have been the same thing. So, only thing that we can do is just be prepared the best way we can, keep God in our faith, and let him steer us.
I agree, absolutely.
It was hard for us, but I know Patrick Day, this is something that he wanted us to do. He wanted us and himself to stay positive, get a world title, and make a name for yourself and provide for your family. I'm pretty sure that's what Patrick Day would have said. He was a nice guy. I met him one day at the press conference in Chicago. His words were very heartfelt. He was a very well-spoken individual. You could tell he came from a great family. And that's why it was so hard for everyone to deal with this loss, because Patrick Day was a great individual, a humble kid, a smart, humble kid. And, his name will not be left in vain. We will say his name until we retire.
I know for Toledo, last year you all had 56 homicides in the city. So for you all there, about 1 out of every 5 deaths is that of a child. Tell us about what the afternoons look like for a child coming into Soul City Boxing. They're getting off the bus or they're walking from school and they're coming to you. What does the afternoon look like?
Well, I tell you what, there's a lot of homicides in Toledo, Ohio, and out of about 250 deaths from the past 10 years, 5 to 6 of those deaths were children, young teenagers that came into the gym every day, Monday through Friday, and somehow that they didn't really want to get into boxing, and they said, you know what, I'm not going to try boxing at this moment. I'm going to try a different route, which was the streets. And they unfortunately passed away. It's kind of sad, when you hear news, you kind of hurry up and look and see, like, oh, make sure it wasn't none of those kids that used to go to the gym, that were, murdered or involved in the murder, things like that. And, like you said, kids come there to the gym, ages from 5 years old all the way to 35 years old. Once they start hitting about 16, 17, 18, that's kind of where you got to keep an eye on them. And it's the parents' job to understand, like, once they get to this level, you have to keep your hands on them and keep them involved in something. If not, boxing, you got to get them into a job. You know what I mean? They got to go to work. They can't go a job in the streets, because in the streets, it's a lot of trickery going on.
If I weren't here, I'd have been in the streets.
For them, these teen gun violence deaths are personal.
Soul City Boxing saved me from where I could have been, because all my friends went to jail, or like some of them dead and stuff like that, and I didn't want to end up like that.
If they could sit down with public officials to talk about what needs to be changed, this is where they'd start.
The real issue is the lack of involvement in programs like this where adults can help us. So that's why we need to get adults and mayors and the bigger members of the community to help out with programs like Soul City Boxing.
They say there's not enough programming like this, but there are plenty of kids just like them that could benefit from mentors who listen and understand.
You know what I mean? My best friend who was helping us coach at Soul City Boxing Gym, Brian Smith, he got killed on one of the side streets a mile down the street from the gym. No one knows what happened. No one knows what he was doing over there, who he was meeting. His mystery is still a murder. And, that hit close to home, because that could have easily been me. You know what I mean? Because I'm coaching with this guy. I'm seeing this guy. I just seen him the day before yesterday.
Do his kids a favor. Turn yourself in, because we all out here now, and we know that Brian didn't deserve what was done.
Brian Smith was 30 years old. He leaves behind 4 kids, a large family, friends, and a boxing gym full of children he helped inspire.
All the kids out, if they wanted to run to the park or they wanted to spar with him, he loved it.
It could have been me.
Could have been anybody because he's such a good person.
Roshawn Jones is trying to find a way to explain to the boxers at Soul City what happened to their mentor and friend. Jones and Smith trained and fought together as professional boxers, and Smith was at the gym multiple times a week to coach.
The only thing I could say is put your life in boxing 100% and stay in the house. It's the only thing I can say. You can't run from violence, you can't run from death.
Smith will be remembered as a loving father to his own children and a big brother to the neighborhood kids, who was lost in a way that makes no sense to those who loved him.
And the two youngest ones, they ain't even gonna know how to begin their life because they waking up now and saying, I want to go with my daddy's. Is my daddy coming to get me? They don't even have a clue. Yes, we got great memories of my baby to lay down with and think about, but we got sad memories when we wake up.
Before he died, and it's just rough out there, and you got to stay busy in a positive environment. You know what I mean? And if you don't, it's real ugly out there.
I know Brian passed in November, and it was just in September, a few months prior, the children had an interview and they talked about the influence of adults and what you all meant to them. What is Brian Smith's legacy to you, to the children, and to Soul City Boxing?
Brian Smith's legacy meant a lot to us because he was such a positive individual. His death was so heartfelt for us because this guy helped people. He gave rides. He took kids home. You know what I mean? He helped bring money to the gym, helped with fundraisers. Any clothing drive that we had with getting Soul City shirts, Soul City sweatpants to go on trips. He was the first one in line to buy an outfit to help, for tournaments, because we got to pay for hotels, we got to pay for gas, you know what I mean? So we got to sell different things, to make money for these trips. And, he was the number one supporter. If you go on his Instagram, his Facebook, you can look him, he's head to toe Soul City. And he didn't get it for free. He was spending his money. He was getting his kids stuff. His kids were coming to the gym. They wrestled. They also boxed, you know what I mean? So, they're stuck without a father. And, as me, I have to step up to the plate and help out his family, because if it happened to me, that's something he would want me to do. You know what I mean? So his legacy was all positive. You know what I mean? All he did was work, got money for his kids, and went home. So he was a great man.
Yeah.
How do you keep the kids there on track, and motivated and focused? How do you keep them with you instead of in the streets?
That's a good statement, because that was one of the things that we collectively came together. Like, damn, these kids keep leaving the gym. What can we do to help them? We obviously can't pay them to come to the gym.
Yeah.
So we have small incentives. We have toy drives. We have shoe drives. We gave out some pair of Jordans one year. Size from 9.5 to 10.5. So if you had those size, you had a pair of Jordans. We just had a toy drive for the teenagers and young kids. Some kids got AirPods, gift cards, things like that. A lot of organizations partner with us. Toledo Moms, Always Enough Toledo, Toledo Soup, small micro grant. A lot of people come together and they help us out to give us computers. If some kids need some computers and we have extra computers, we give you the whole computers, to take home. Those are some of the things that we do to keep the kids involved. We also feed them. That's the most thing. We give them food at the end. Some people really have good food at home. They got food at home, but it's not good, to like how a professional boxer may eat rice, salmon, vegetables, things like that. So, that makes them come to the gym.
Tell us about some of your success stories.
Yes, some success stories. We have a 99.9% high school graduation rate.
That's awesome.
All right.
Out of that came to our gym, only one person didn't graduate. And unfortunately, sometimes school isn't for everyone. Sometimes people may get E, then get into trade school or get a GED and get a good job somewhere. And then that's what we do. We have people enrolling in the college as well, and doing great, getting ready for their careers. But as far as like a boxing success story, some kids that you hear about all the top boxers all the time. Let's talk about some that that you may not hear about. There's a kid, Michael Crockett, Caleb Michael Crockett. He's great athlete, great football player, great boxer, but he's also great in school. He has a 3.8 GPA, and that is a success story because this is a kid who started coming to the gym when he was 6 years old. He's now 16 years old. So he's been in the program for 10 years, and now he has a 3.8 GPA. So that is a product of what we have created.
Emma Henderson with their story.
Am I next?
15-year-old Michael Crockett asks himself that question every time he sees another teen has died on the streets in Toledo.
It makes me sad because some of the people that are dying, I grew up with them, or like I go to school with them, so I don't really like it.
And I just want to take my hat off to him. He may not put in 100% like I want him to with the boxing, but at least he's putting in 100% in the classroom. And those are the type of kids that we would like to promote and highlight so other kids can pick up on that type of energy and reproduce that.
Well, you also have a wrestling program, and there's this wrestling student you've been highlighting too. Tell us about him.
Yes, today had a wrestling match today as well. And his name is William Palmer. He's a 3.5 GPA student. He also plays football at Scott High School. He's looking to go to a JUCO college when he graduates high school and play football. And he's using wrestling to make him a stronger, faster athlete. And also he's using boxing to get him into better shape. He may not get in the ring, but he's doing boxing workouts, calisthenics, jumping jacks, squats, body thrusts, burpees, things like that.
Okay.
And he won a match today, and it went down to the wire. It was a 6-minute match. The score ended up being 13-11. He got tired at the end. The other guy was coming back, but with his conditioning that he's been doing with his boxing workouts, it made him win that match. So things like that, you know, getting those high school wrestlers and bringing them into an environment with boxers, you know, it's helping him, you know, be successful at what he's doing, and it's giving him self-confidence. Kids that have self-confidence, they don't go out here and shoot people, you know what I mean? Because they have things to look for, they have a future and goals, you know what I mean? And that's what we're trying to implement into these young kids is self-confidence, high self-esteem, so they can have a positive thought pattern when they're in the process of doing what they want to do.
And I know you've talked about the wrestling and the boxing and the workouts and the calisthenics. That 3.5 and that 3.8 GPA, I think, comes from that tutoring that you guys also offer as well there.
Yes. Thanks for reminding me. Mondays and Fridays, tutor. Her name is Coquetta. And her kids are in private school, so she kind of has extra time to, you know, give to the community center. And we also did with the Toledo moms that I mentioned earlier, they gave us gifts for the kids for Christmas. They also filled our tutoring room up with notebooks, crayons, paper, printers, things like that, you know, so we can print off these worksheets and make sure these kids are up to par at their grade level. And most importantly, she's helping the 5- and 6-year-olds learn how to read. Before she came and she got these group of kids, they could not sound out words. They could not do sight words, and they couldn't do like family words, you know, at, hat, you know what I mean? They didn't know that. So now since she's coming and implementing the program, they're starting to be able, they may not comprehend what they're reading yet, but they're saying what they're seeing and they're sounding things out. And to see that is great, you know what I mean? Because, you know, we're raising these young kids in this village, you know what I mean? And it's going to be great when you see them 16, 17 years old getting ready for ACT. And then when they were 6, they couldn't even read, you know what I mean? So that's a blessing.
Yeah.
How did you actually open this gym? I don't know, did you wake up one day and say that I'm going to do this? Because we've talked to lots of boxers on this particular show. And one of the things that they say they want to do is to start their own gym. How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, me and my father, Soul City Boxing Gym is a family business, a nonprofit business. Everyone in the family, my dad, Otha Jones Jr., Otha Jones III, O'Shea Jones, myself, Roshawn Jones, Charles Conwell Sr., Charles Conwell dad, Charles Conwell, all those guys, they're implementing money into the program, you know, so this is something that we collectively came up to do 10 years ago. the first kid we had was Roshawn Jones. He was a football player, wrestler, basketball player, and he seen Pretty Boy Bam Bam, become a YouTube sensation. I'm pretty sure you heard of him. He was on Sports Center, Ellen DeGeneres, Oprah. Man, he made all that noise just off punching, looking pretty, and he lived down the street from us. You know what I mean? So my brother was like, you know what? If he can do that and become famous, I can do this. And he started winning every national tournament you can think of based off his wrestling ability, because he was so much of great conditioning with younger kids. He outlasted all the younger kids. So the third round, he's turning up while the other kids is tired. But wrestling is so mentally tough and mentally draining. It makes you a tougher man or a woman, because girls wrestle too. If you survive a season or two, it makes you a stronger human being. So with him already having that implemented to his head at 6 years old, 8 years old, he was ahead of the game with all the younger kids. And I'm saying that because once he started winning, we started getting on in the local newspaper, the local news, New York Times, the world great magazine, New York Times, that came out to the gym and seen from his success rate and made a story with Katie Couric. And we took off from there. You know what I mean? And then we wanted to use Roshawn Jones III as an example to younger kids, because younger kids was dying young, 10 years ago, 7 years ago, so we wanted to implement a positive young man to show the kids you don't got to die to become famous, because if you die, you famous, you know what I mean, out here, R.I.P. such as, you know what I mean, your name will live, you don't got to do that to, to become famous. You can get in these tournaments, you can, win them, and you can get these in the news, and get some publicity, things like that. And then everyone start coming in, younger kids, adults, dads, moms, they wanted their kids to be on the same track as this young man. And he touched a lot of kids' lives by not even speaking to them, by just doing what he does and making them come in and say, hey, Dad, I want to be like that. So that was one of the reasons why we started the gym. And as well as, to get him, a career, get money, make enough money, and then get out of the boxing game and then do something else with it, And this is something he's good at, so we got to, use it while he got his youth.
Tell us about From the Mud.
From the Mud, Toledo is a low-income area. Toledo, Ohio is a cheap place to live. Rent is $650, $700, $800 a month. It's rough here. Crime rate is high, just like any other low-income area. If the poverty level is low or high, then the crime is high. So don't have jobs, people trying to find little licks to hit, breaking the houses, you know what I mean? So you make it out of here where people are like crabs in a barrel. Oh, you up top, we're gonna pull you back down. You got to get out of here. And if making in the mud, that means you're stuck. You're in your car, you're driving. Oh, I'm trying to get out this mud. And if you make it out of the mud, then that, you did something, because it's here, you don't want to die here. And you really want to get your money as best you can and get somewhere and get out of here. You can't run from trouble. Trouble is everywhere, but here it's just the thought process is kind of, low. It's not big. You don't make money and then retire and then come live here. You want to go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're trying to do. And we got that, trying to make it out the mud and plant it in our head, because we want to make it out of here bigger. We want a bigger house, a better neighborhood, you know what I mean? So those are things that we got to do, to get up out of here. We're still gonna have the gym here, but at some point you gotta elevate.
Yeah.
There's something else that you do that's unique. Tell us about being a black cowboy.
Yeah.
I'm also into, I love animals. I have dogs. I have a terrier. I can breed the Patterdale Terrier. I can breed the horses. Some things that inner city kids don't see is going out into a farm, seeing how things are ran. When you have a horse, you don't have time to go out and party and kick it. You got to go feed them and take care of them. So it's keeping you busy. It's keeping you, and I was saying this earlier, it's keeping you in a positive environment to where you're not out dealing with unnecessary things. And taking these kids out there and teaching them, Western pleasure, with dealing with horses, how to deal with a horse. And it gives them motivation, again, an incentive not to do nothing stupid, because they want to go see the horse tomorrow. You know what I mean? So you want to go see the horse, take a horse, you got to be on your A game and, you know, not in around the wrong people.
Yeah, like you got him down here, lean him up and sit back in your seat. Yep. And just
All right, bro.
kiss. Kiss, turn keep her along this gate line. You pull her and you telling her to go, Elijah.
You know, and we're just trying to bring the, you know, the black cowboys out, you know, because back in the day, in the Western movies, you didn't see black cowboys. You saw Caucasian in the West, you know, but it was really mostly black people who were the ones, you know, breaking the horses, riding the horses, sorting the cattle. And we're just trying to keep that legacy going on.
I love that legacy. You've got a lot to tell us in terms of social media so that we can follow this fantastic story. Just as a little caveat, before I ask you how we can get in contact with you to support Soul City Boxing, $1 from every bottle of Joe Louis bourbon sold goes to programs like yours in the United States. So tell us how we can find you, follow you, support you on social media, and then tell us how we can donate to you directly to Soul City Boxing.
Well, thank you. You can follow me at Roshawn, ROSHAWN _Jones at all social media platforms. You can follow any one of our fighters. Otha Jones III, just type that in. Charles Conwell, just type that in. Isaiah Steen, just type that in. O'Shea Jones, type it in. And also, if you want to, Haven Brady Jr., don't forget about Haven Brady.
Yeah.
Man, he's from Albany, Georgia. You can follow him, just type the name in. I make everyone with social medias do their full name. Don't do nothing else. You know, Haven Brady Jr., you know what I mean, Roshawn Jones, and things like that. So make it simple. If you want to donate to us in our program and you want to check our program out, you can also follow us on YouTube at Soul City Boxing TV. We keep a lot of updated things on there that we do. It's kind of like a TV show. I try to keep the fighters, you know, their media content pumping out. You can follow us at soulcitygym.com, SOULCITYGYM.com. And you can go there to the scroll down and then tap the PayPal button and you can donate anything, $1, 50 cents, whatever it is going to help the inner city kids doing what they're doing, whether if it's buying a water, buying disinfectant, buying masks, anything. And, you know, this is a positive organization and we're just trying to help people around the world so they can help other people and, you know, spread the love.
What do you see for the future of children?
What I see for the future of children is the fact that the children are the future. What we implement into these kids right now is going to affect us 20, 30 years from now. So we must implement great knowledge into these kids because they're going to be taking care of us for the next 20, 30 years and plus.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you for taking time out of your busy day. Marquise Johns, I know you're going to want to write about Roshawn Jones and Soul City Boxing. Tell us how we can follow you.
Absolutely, but let me actually get you out on this, Roshawn.
Okay.
Just an update on anybody who's fighting upcoming. You mentioned Haven Brady Jr., who just recently signed the Top Rank. Any update on anyone out of the gym that we should keep an eye on personally and we need to keep an up for?
Oh yeah, for sure. Otha Jones is the first one up to bat, March 23rd. Don't know where, know who yet. After that, April 27th, 26th. You know, the promotion companies just give us a little bit of information, and then that just then just be ready. You know, so after that, April-ish, Charles Conwell and Isaiah Steen will fight on Ring City, USA. Haven Brady Jr. Top Rank isn't doing any shows in all March because of March Madness, so he will be probably around April, May. He's in camp right now, and we're staying ready. O'Shea Jones has a international competition tournament with Team USA within the next 4 weeks, so she's getting her down and getting prepared. And also, we have a bunch of amateurs fighting February 6th in Cincinnati, Ohio. I will make highlights and recaps of those fighters that are fighting, just to give you a look at the next 18 through 26-year-olds that are going to turn pro within the next year.
Okay. Now, I just want to get a follow up on that. But yeah, as you mentioned, Tanya, you can follow my writings always at bigfightweekend.com, and you can find me on social media at Weak Sauce Radio on Twitter, preferably.
A hope for the future with Soul City Boxing. One last time, tell us how we can donate to you before we close out.
I would like to say thanks for having me on this show. It's really an honor. It's a privilege. Thank you again. You can follow me, or you can follow Soul City Boxing Gym at soulcitygym.com. You can scroll down, hit the PayPal link, and you can make a donation or, type an email.
I noticed one of the most recent giving campaigns afforded the children to have a shower and soap after they have their boxing matches and their sparring. So you too can make a difference. Just 8 donors made that happen for Soul City Boxing. So visit the website, scroll down, click the PayPal link. And you can find me here on Joe Louis Bourbon's Facebook page, and you can follow us with the Making of Champions on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.